Well, it's raining and miserable outside, so I thought I'd come in here to classroom 6 and talk to you about phrasal verbs. There's one. We use phrasal verbs as an aim in some of our lessons at BEC, and we find that students often are quite familiar with the more common phrasal verbs like join in or give up. But what we like to do is show them a little bit more about how they work and why we use them. So a phrasal verb is basically a verb with a particle or preposition. If you have a phrasal verb like wash up can work alone, and so up is a particle. You can say, please wash up these dishes, but again, the particle isn't really doing anything with that noun. But if you have a sentence like, you should stand by your friend, by is a preposition. It needs to go with something, by your friend. But it's important we don't get too worried about the grammar. What's more important is the function of them. Phrasal verbs save time. They make your language more authentic, more real. And if I take a sentence like, at 3 o'clock, the plane will accelerate down the runway until it obtains sufficient speed to leave the ground and enter the sky. There's nothing wrong with that sentence grammatically. I'm using the right words and my meaning is being conveyed, but it's just too long. No one really speaks like that. Instead, I can use a phrasal verb, just using 2 words. At 3 o'clock, the plane will take off. And that way, the person who's listening to me isn't going to get bored and walk away. This shows us that phrasal verbs are idiomatic, and that means that the meaning of the phrasal verb isn't in the actual words themselves. If I look up take and off in the dictionary, it's not going to tell me anything about aeroplanes going into the sky. The meaning is beyond the words. However, if I have a sentence like, please take off your shoes, here, take off is not a true phrasal verb, because the meaning is there in the words themselves. You're literally taking off your shoes. At the end of lessons where phrasal verbs have been an aim, we sometimes like to give students a list of the common phrasal verbs that they can use. It can be difficult to learn too many at one time, so we always suggest that you should just learn 1 or 2 and try and use them in your conversation. And over time, with more and more practice, and you start to learn more phrasal verbs, they can add a lot more to your general conversation. If you want to learn more about phrasal verbs, there's a link below which tells you a little bit more about their structure and how they can be used. But if I was a bit more rude now, I'd tell you to clear off. But since I'm not, I'll just say thank you very much for listening and have an excellent day.